Welcome back to the Scotti-BYTE channel, and this is Scott. So today, let's talk cameras. After my last video on self-hosting and home automation, there was interest in how I display my Reolink cameras using my Fire TV 4K sticks. So one method I use is an app available from the Amazon App Store called TinyCam Pro, which can display both motion JPEG video and RTSP video streams. TinyCam Pro is available for $3.99 US from Tiny Solutions LLC, and no, they are not sponsoring the video. Most of the time, I prefer displaying my cameras via Alexa voice commands. So, many camera brands have Alexa skills to display their cameras using voice commands. These skills are frequently offered by the camera manufacturer. And Reolink has a camera skill as well, and I'm focusing on the Reolink cameras for the purpose of this video, and you'll see why as we move along. So Reolink, like other manufacturer camera skills, tends to display their cameras in lower resolutions, and these are just fine for displaying on an Echo Show, but not really on a large format TV. So we can display a Reolink 2K camera on a Fire TV 4K in full resolution using a voice command. There is a web portal called Monocle, and Monocle is also a gateway interface that allows an RTSP camera stream to be displayed on both Echo Shows and Fire TV devices of all models. So monoclecam.com is a cloud-based portal where you can define your cameras that you want to display. And the Monocle Cam site is a free site where you can create an account and establish the connection to your cameras. And that's really the topic of today's video. So there is Alexa skill called Monocle RTSP, RTP IP cameras, and it can be enabled on your Amazon account via the Alexa mobile app. Echo devices can be paired with Fire TV sticks to receive voice commands that direct content to the Fire TV device to display on the TV rather than manually using the Fire TV voice remote microphone button. So this also requires a local server on your network to run something called the Monocle Gateway Service to convert the camera RTSP stream to an RTSP stream that can be accepted by Amazon Echo Show and Fire TV devices. So this gateway server is required on your local network when using Monocle to display cameras on Fire TV 4K and Fire TV tablets. And I've also found that the gateway server is required for all Reolink cameras. Many camera brands do not specifically require the gateway. But since we're going to focus on Reolink cameras, we'll also focus on the gateway. So how does this architecture look? Well, basically, out on the web, we have a Monocle presence, and that involves the Monocle web portal where you define your cameras, and then a Monocle web service that is able to connect down to the Monocle gateway, which will run locally on your network, and it handles taking the stream from an RTSP camera and displaying it on an Echo Show or a Fire TV. It does this by interfacing through a Monocle home skill or Alexa smart skill, and that particular skill interfaces between the Alexa voice services and your Amazon devices. Here we are on the Fire TV 4K Max, and as I move over to the TinyCam Pro application and launch it, you can see that I have a number of cameras here. And so specifically I can arrow around on different cameras, and I can also choose a particular camera to go full screen on it. The main topic of today's video will be displaying cameras using voice commands on the Fire TV. And so first of all, we have to have a paired echo device, and then we're able to issue the voice command. Alexa, show me the front yard on the TV.
Okay.
The camera that I'm demonstrating on today's video is a Reolink RLC 520A, and it is a PoE IP camera with person and vehicle detection. And it's often sold for as little as $35 US if you really look around for sale, and that is an absolute bargain for a camera of this particular caliber. Not only is it power over Ethernet, but it also has IR lighting that gives you up to 100 feet of night vision in black and white. It also has an SD card on the camera, and that SD card can handle up to 256 gigabytes of storage on it. And as it says here, it can record up to 97 hours on the SD card. The SD card is not included, and in my particular case, I would recommend recording video off on an appropriate NVR solution. But that being said, the camera itself is remarkable for both its day and night vision. So here we are over at the monoclecam.com website, which we're going to feature in the show notes. And this has been, quote, beta for quite some time. And as long as it's beta, it's supposed to be a free service. I don't know whether they'll ever charge for it. Hopefully not. But it's some really fine work on behalf of the folks over here. And Robert that runs this site is absolutely fantastic. So I click on sign in for my existing account, and I'm going to go ahead and go up to my Bitwarden and also say I'm not a robot and click sign in. And then I'm logged into what is called my Monocle Cam dashboard. On the dashboard, it lists all of my cameras. The majority of my cameras are Reolink RLC 520As, but I also have some Amcrest cameras, and I also have some Ubiquiti Unify cameras as well. And then I believe I even have a couple of Wise cameras that I'm running the aftermarket software on so that I have a better RTSP stream than is offered for the Wise cameras out of the box. So we're going to go over the configuration of each of these, or one of these cameras, but I just wanted to show you how it's set up and how many cameras I'm actually serving through the Monocle Cam service. So to get started, you're going to want to head over to the monoclecam.com website and click on the register here. Up here, you'll go ahead and provide your name as it asks, your email address. In this case, I'm going to do vmsman@scotti-BYTE.com. And then I'm going to type in a password. And finally, I'm going to click I'm not a robot and then create account. Password requires at least one uppercase character. lowercase character, and special character. Okay, there we go. How about that? And I think I've met all the requirements, so I'm going to click on Create Account. And so it waits for a little while and it creates me an account. So it says account registered. Go check your email and verify that you have the account correctly. So I'm coming over to my email on my other screen, clicking on my account registration. And it says you're confirmed. So I go do a login. In this case, I'm going to type bmsman@scotti-BYTE.com. Type in my super secret password. Say I'm not a robot and sign in. So when you start out, you're going to end up with my camera feeds, and you're not going to have any camera feeds initially, and that's what we have to do first. Now that you're signed into the Monocle Cam dashboard, you're going to want to click on Add Camera Feed. So the name of our camera is going to be Front Yard, and the description will be Front Yard Camera. And then the manufacturer will be Reolink. The model will be RLC-520A. And then the camera feed itself will be according to what the manufacturer specifies. In this particular case, Reolink specifies that the camera feed look like /H264 preview _01 main, and capitalization is significant here. We have port 554, which is the default port for the RTSP protocol, and then we have the local LAN address for that particular camera, and the only protocol that they support on Monocle Cam is RTSP, and this would be the RTSP standard feed for an RLC 520A camera. Under authentication, you want to select digest, and then you want to provide your username, which in this case, I'm going to type in Scott, and then my password will be super secret, right? And then under video resolution, here you can go down and go through the list, and the full 2K resolution of this particular camera is 2560 by 1440, which is a 16:9 aspect ratio at 1440p, and your video codec choice is only H.264, and you remember earlier I pointed out that it would not support H.265. Under audio codec, you want to choose G711 for the Reolink camera, and then down here under optional tags, we want to choose @tunnel, and that was what we'll use our tunnel server on the local network that we've not yet created. At this point, we go ahead and click save, and we have our camera added, and you can add other cameras in a similar fashion. Now that I have at least one camera added, I want to go up to my username here and click on it and go to My Account. And in My Account, I have the option to change my name and also my password, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to go over here and say Add API Token. And then I'm going to type in maybe something like Monocle for the name of my token. It really doesn't matter what you call it, because the token is a file that you're going to place on your local network on your Monocle server. So in this particular case, I'm going to say copy to clipboard, or I could say download. I'm going to say copy to clipboard, and I'm just going to leave that up for the time being in case I have to come back to it. So at this point, you're going to want to open the Lexa mobile app, click on More, and click on Skills and Games. And when you get into Skills and Games, you're going to want to type in Monocle, and it's going to be a string like Monocle RTSP. Actually, I've got a little bit of a typo in here, but basically it's Monocle RTSP IP cameras. And that will bring back this Monocle RTSP/RTP IP camera skill. And you want to select it and enable it. And once you enable it, it'll ask for settings, and the settings are going to ask for the username and password of your Monocle account that we created in the previous step. And then once that skill is enabled, you'll be able to connect to the cameras. But first we have to go over and create our local server on the network, as I'd mentioned earlier. So you can install the Monocle gateway really on any Linux machine. It could be a virtual machine, but in our particular case, since I focus on LXD containers on my channel, I'm going to do a LXC launch Ubuntu :2204 Monocle, which is the name of the container that I'm creating. -- profile is default, and then -- profile is VLAN 30. VLAN 30 is a dedicated VLAN where I have my cameras located, and that way I'm offering the Monocle gateway on the same network where the cameras are located. And then finally, boot.autostart equals to true, which means that when the LXD host boots, then it starts this particular container. So now that that's the case, I can pause for a second, and then I will do a LXC list, and we should see that this Monocle container has an address on my VLAN 30 network. I do a list, and it says it is at 192.168.30.44, and so the LXD container is in fact on my VLAN with my cameras. Now that the container is created, I want to do a LXC exec Monocle bosh, which moves inside the container and gives me a root prompt. From there, I'm going to do an apt update & apt upgrade to install all the latest upgrades with a -y, so I don't have to respond to the prompt asking if I want to install the updates. I'm going to create myself an account now that this is updated, and I'll do that with an add user Scott. Type in a password for Scott. And then do a user mod -a G sudo Scott, putting Scott into the sudo group. And then I'm going to do an apt install on open SSH-server so that I have a way to SSH into it. And it says it's already at the new version, but I'm going to go ahead and remove it and reinstall it to refresh the keys because I know that's going to be a problem. So I'm going to do an apt remove -- purge on open SSH-server. Say yes, I want to uninstall it. And then right after it uninstalls, I'm going to do an open SSH server install with an apt install open SSH server, and now it installs once again. Next step is, just out of habit, I like to do an apt install on net-tools because I like the format of that particular command, as long as I can type the word install correctly. So now that net-tools is installed, I can do if config, and here you see that we have 192.168.30.44, which is the address of our new LXD container to run our Monocle gateway. So here we're going to SSH from the Scott account on my local machine over to the Scott account on the new container. I accept the fingerprint and I type in my password, and I am logged into the new LXD container. The next step that I want to do is I want to bring down the copy of the Monocle gateway software, and I do that with this particular wget command, and we will go off and do that, or at least provide the notes for how to do that in the show notes. So now that that is downloaded and installed, or downloaded but not installed, the next step is to install it. If you recall from an earlier step out on the Monocle Cam website portal, we copied this API token string to the clipboard. So I'm going to go off and do that copy again. Then I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. And now that I've minimized it, my next step is to create a file for it. And so I'm going to do a sudo makedir on /etc/monocle, which is where it expects to find the token file. And then after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and create my token file, and I'm going to do that by doing a nano on Monocle. Actually, let's go ahead and cd over to /etc/monocle that we just created, and then do a sudo nano on monocle.token. And then we're going to paste what we put in there from the website, and I'm going to do a Control X and save the buffer and end. So basically we have this one file called monocle.token now located in /etc/monocle. So let's go back to my home directory here, and as a reminder, we have the deb file downloaded. So now to install the gateway and the token is in place, I simply do a sudo dpackage-i and the name of the file that we downloaded with the wget command. So it goes off and creates the gateway, and it enables it to start automatically. To verify that your gateway is up and running, we can do a sudo systemctl status monocle-gateway, and here you can see that the Monocle gateway service is up and running and translating for the camera. Now here's an important note: if you're not creating this thing on a dedicated machine, it does require port 443, and it's calling out the host as being 192.168.30.44, which is exactly what we've got here. And the fact that we have that token out there is what allows the skill that we enabled to connect down to the cameras located on the local area network. As a reminder, back on the Monocle Cam dashboard, That's where we defined our camera. And now we have our gateway up and running. There's really only one step left to do, and that is basically to say, Alexa, discover, at which point in time she will find the front yard camera. And then the voice command that you can issue is, Alexa, show me the front yard camera, and it will display. Now, one caveat about this is if you're using a Fire TV, Cube, of course, it has Alexa built in. But if you're using an Amazon Echo Dot, for example, you can pair that Dot with your Fire TV, which is really beyond the scope of this particular video. But in my demonstration, that's what I had done. So my command to display the camera on the TV was, Alexa, show me the front yard on the TV. And I gave that command from the paired Echo Dot, and it was able to display the camera correctly. And finally, here's a direct link into that particular front yard camera, and you can see the resolution and accuracy of the Reolink RLC 520A. And this has been my go-to camera for quite some time, and it works very well with both the Echo Show devices and the Fire TVs. And I use Fire TV 4Ks and also a Fire TV 4K Max. So in summary, Fire TV devices and Amazon Echo devices can display Reolink 2K resolution cameras in full resolution using the Monocle gateway via a voice command. And when it comes to the Reolink cameras, I believe that all Reolink cameras require the Monocle gateway in order to be able to display on Amazon devices. So only H.264 encoded streams are supported, so newer H.265 4K camera streams will not work with Alexa. And furthermore, I really believe that all 4K cameras are mostly H.265, so you're not going to have any luck trying to get them to display. So my example focuses on the streaming of the Reolink RLC 520A model cameras because of their price performance metrics. Other cameras will work, but they require different settings. In my example, I showed how to install and configure the Monocle gateway on your local network in a LexD container. Anyway, that's it for today. Please subscribe and like to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next time.